Ever since the original Yoshi's Island was released for the SNES in 1995, the series has received numerous sequels and spin-offs, which have all been good, but they never seem to capture the charm of the original. Most of the sequels have stuck to the tried and true formula of the original and don't stray that far away from it. Yoshi's Woolly World, on the other hand, breathes new life into the classic Yoshi gameplay and does it extremely well. I'll spare you the cliche cliffhangers here. I absolutely adore Woolly World. I haven't had this much fun with a Nintendo platformer since Tropical Freeze. But why is that? On the outside surface, Yoshi's Woolly World appears to be extremely similar to its predecessors. However, that doesn't mean the game suffers from being a sequel. Far from it, actually. Let's kick things off with the story, and it's as charming as ever. Much like the original Yoshi's Island, the plot starts off with Kamek causing some trouble, but this time around, Baby Mario and Baby Luigi are nowhere to be seen. Instead, Kamek wreaks havoc on the Yoshi community for seemingly no reason at first. He literally says, "Sorry to drop in so suddenly, but I need to turn you all into yarn. Thanks." And that subtle humor works wonders for Woolly World. Now, the SNES installment also contains similar humor and brilliant character development for Kamek, but I feel Woolly World does it better. Not only is Kamek more expressive, but his dialogue conveys his tone and personality more naturally. In general, the writing in Yoshi's Woolly World, while not prevalent, is lighthearted and goofy. Kamek's lines before boss fights are as playfully evil as ever as well. Plus, there's not a heavy emphasis on plot or anything, making the game simply more fast-paced and enjoyable to play through. If you really don't care for the story at all, you can just skip it. As for the presentation, it's wonderfully unique. Woolly World's art style is really distinct and polished, and while it takes obvious inspiration from Kirby's Epic Yarn, it doesn't feel like Kirby's Epic Yarn from a visual standpoint. Unlike that game, the character models are rendered in real time, whereas the Epic Yarn models were pre-rendered sprites. And these models are really well designed, to the point where you can see the tiny strands of yarn coming off the Yoshis. This upgrade also causes the game to never feel like you're playing Epic Yarn. Rather, you feel like you're playing Yoshi's Island. That, aesthetically, is a fantastic design choice, as I love Yoshi's Island's stylized art direction. It gave the title that extra charm to really immerse you in the world and keep you engaged in trying to escort Baby Mario around the world. Similarly, Yoshi's Woolly World's art style creates an atmosphere of almost tranquility. The choice of colors make the environments a lot more welcome and nice to look at. With this wide array of colors and well-detailed textures, every single level is visually stunning and diverse. Not once did I find any level to look too similar to each other or bland by comparison. Perhaps this is due to the whole yarn aesthetic, where almost everything is made of yarn and has the texture and feel of yarn. When Yoshi steps on the terrain, the top of the platform sinks down a bit, emulating that feel of walking on a fabric or pillow. And I'm sure you could tell by now, but the animations are smooth, and much like Epic Yarn, they have Yoshi transform into some sort of vehicle when he moves, like a helicopter propeller when he flutters, or a Segway when he runs on the ground. Likewise, the original Yoshi's Island ran smoothly, with detailed sprites and environments causing levels to be memorable and interesting. While I don't know how Woolly World will stand the test of time in 20 years, and after only playing it 1.5 times, I can say it is up to par with the visual standards established in the original. Adding on to this brilliant visual presentation is the glorious soundtrack. Now, the music in the original Yoshi's Island was memorable, upbeat, and cheery. With its heavy focus on percussion rhythms, guitar, and synth, most of the tracks were catchy in the way that they were impossible to stop humming or get out of your head. Even to this day, the OST of Yoshi's Island is a popular choice for background music for any occasion. It had that special charm that made you fall in love as soon as you heard a tune. The music only complements the gameplay, and vice versa in the original Yoshi's Island. Sure, there aren't many tracks in total, but anyone who has played this title will probably know a few tunes from it. Fortunately, you could say the same thing for Woolly World. While the soundtrack is still upbeat, the music feels a bit more mellow and laid back. Composed by Tomoya Tomita, who headed Kirby's Epic Yarn soundtrack, the music feels like a mix between that game and, to some some degree Yoshi's Island. From what I've listened to so far, Woolly World doesn't rely too heavily on its predecessors for melodies either, unlike New Island. Most of the songs are original compositions that fit this theme of relaxation and bliss perfectly. The combination of the live instrumentation and various acoustics are also really spectacular to listen to. At this point in time, I would have to say that Claudette Beach and Across the Fluttering Dunes are among my favorites. So, now that we have all that out of the way, how about the gameplay? Well, I'm glad to say that it's both fun and brilliantly designed. The original Yoshi's Island had really polished gameplay with tight controls and a lot of potential to speed through the levels if you really wanted to. There were a ton of movement options introduced there, like throwing eggs, eating enemies, fluttering, and so on. Woolly World takes all these aspects and improves on them, creating a cohesive Yoshi experience. When you begin the game, you're given the option of 2 control styles and 2 egg throwing styles. What this control scheme boils down to is that you can eat enemies and other environmental objects with your tongue, and then either spit them out as a ball of yarn or use them for later. If you do the latter, you can keep a bunch of yarn balls with you to throw at certain enemies that can only be killed by them, and for puzzles that involve breaking dirt blocks with the yarn balls or creating platforms. The system for aiming the yarn balls is also really user-friendly and easy to understand. By holding the back trigger, you can trigger a reticle that moves up and down automatically until you manually stop it to throw an egg at your desired location. Oh, and being a platformer, you can obviously jump around and flutter to gain some extra altitude. This incredibly simple moveset allows for some ingenious level design. Like in the first level, the game introduces you to invisible platforms that you need your yarn balls to make appear. But then, later on, the game builds on it by making those platforms move or rotate. It's simple things like these that really show you how much time and effort was put into every single aspect of this game. To further add to this is the fact that every level is distinct from one another, with each adding at least one new aspect like lava, 2.5D segments, or these new eggs that create cloud-based platforms for Yoshi to travel across. I cannot compliment the level design enough here, and not to mention, it actually incentivizes you to explore every nook and cranny for smiley flowers, stamp patches, and Wonderwool. Yes, unlike a lot of recent games, I felt compelled to go out of my way and explore the stages thoroughly, and not once was it monotonous or tedious. Exploring and going off the beaten path is just as enjoyable as going through the intended route. What makes exploration even sweeter is that finding all of a certain collectible is utterly satisfying and rewarding. For collecting a certain number of stamp patches, you can gain badges which help you on your adventure, and stamps to post on Miiverse. Sure, I can't really use these stamps because of my Miiverse history, but the badges are a neat addition to spend your beads on, even if I never really use them. The smiley flowers, on the other hand, will allow you to play the special courses, which is a fantastic reward as they feel somewhat challenging and pretty interesting. As for collecting all the Wonderwool, those will net you a different skin for Yoshi, which is aesthetically interesting, and if you have any amiibo, you can scan one in and use a skin of that character for Yoshi. Some designs look really cool, and others, well, not so much. In addition to this optional content, the transformations return, all being relatively new and innovative, like the umbrella that makes it so Yoshi can essentially float endlessly. And let's not forget about the 2-player co-op, which is probably my favorite aspect of this title. Playing a Yoshi game cooperatively with a buddy is really fun, and messing around with each other always leads to some good laughs. Plus, having a buddy there to help you out can be really beneficial for when things get more difficult in the later half of the game. Yeah, I said it, this game, unlike Epic Yarn, is pretty challenging from time to time. In comparison to Yoshi's Island, Woolly World is a fantastic sequel. It builds off every fantastic element and fleshes it out competently and with a lot of charm. The egg throwing is as responsive as ever, and the gameplay is somewhat fast-paced. That's not to say that it's an exact carbon copy of the original, because Yoshi accelerates a bit slower than he did in Yoshi's Island, and the camera is also panned back a bit farther. Ultimately, that begs the question of what installment does this formula better, and honestly, I would have to go with Yoshi's Woolly World. That doesn't mean Yoshi's Island is not a good game though, quite the contrary is true, but the SNES original established a foundation that was near flawless in my eyes. In terms of both its presentation and gameplay, Yoshi's Island has aged significantly well. However, However, Woolly World feels like the natural evolution of the Yoshi formula and feels really unique, unlike the rehash that was New Island. The gameplay is tight and the level design is really clever. In addition, the presentation is phenomenal. All these amazing aspects boil down into perhaps my favorite platformer on the Wii U, and obviously my favorite Yoshi game. If you own a Wii U, this is a must-buy, and it's well worth the $50. I don't think I've had this much fun with a Nintendo game in quite some time, nor have I played this unique of a Nintendo game in quite some time. Even if you're not that into platformers, I would implore you to check out Woolly World anyways. Don't wait for a price drop or sale, go buy Yoshi's Woolly World right now if you have any extra cash lying around. But as always, if you disagree or agree with me, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching and take care, have a wonderful day, and goodbye.